Well, welcome into the Field Pass. This is VFL Chris Brown, Paige Dauer. We're launching a new segment called The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. Some weeks we'll have more on one of those angles than the other. We're going to talk all things Tennessee basketball, kind of our midweek thoughts. And VFL Chris Brown, you're so involved still with Tennessee athletics, even though it's only been a couple of seasons since you've been at Tennessee.
Few seasons. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun to be involved and to still be able to give your 2 cents and to be able to give your 2 cents and really nobody's like mad at you because you don't play and you don't have to go and truly face the fans.
Yeah, absolutely. When we're looking at this season, I know you've had a couple of conversations with Zakai Zeigler and his, partnership with Harper Volkswagen. What's kind of the initial vibe though that you're getting from the team after those conversations and kind of the inside?
Obviously I think these guys know that it's going to be a long season, right? Like with the league that we're playing in the SEC and all the different teams that they have, we started off really hot and we started off undefeated, and I think we kind of spoiled the fans, or they kind of spoiled the fans in the sense of winning games, winning by a lot, and we won some tough games against good opponents. And I think Coach Barnes is truly still trying to find the way. There's still a lot of SEC games left. And with Zakai and these guys, they've been through a lot, right? Like Zakai's been through a lot over his career here. And I think the mental challenges that he's going through with his shot making, combined with new people coming with Milicic, and you got Chaz, and you have all these different guys. They're trying to find their way, and I think there's still a lot of time left to find their way. I just think it has to start somewhere, right? Like it has to start with a game, and maybe that's Saturday. But they're getting better, and I think it's just a tough time right now because the schedule's so tough. You have no time to sit back and worry about the game you just lost, right? Like you got to move on to the next.
Absolutely, and I think after what happened at Kentucky, getting ready for the Florida Gators, I think the first thing in this good, bad, ugly segment, we have to talk about the ugly. And like you mentioned, it's the SOT selection. And I was kind of going through SEC play. I wrote down some notes, so they're very legitimate. Okay, Chris? So when we look at just the 8 first games of conference play, Chaz Lanier is undoubtedly carrying the load. I think a lot of the attention, even preseason, was really on him and just trying to be the next Dalton Connect, which is a lot to live up to, right? So when we look at SEC play, from the field, he's 40 of 116. The next closest is Zakai Zeigler with 100 attempts.
Guess Chaz has the green light, huh?
Yeah. It barely feels like everyone has the green light at this point. So that's about 34%. And then you look at the three-point line, he's 23 of 67. Again, another even 34%. So how tough is that on a player when it's just like, whether it's a three-point line, it's a paint touch, or just somewhere in the field, like it's all on him, it seems like.
It is, and obviously we know Coach Barnes preaches defense, right? Like defense is what he preaches, and obviously he brought Chaz Lanier in here to score. The guy's a scorer, but when you're trying to score and you have to play defense, you know he's harping on you on defense, and the other team's making a bunch of shots, it's putting a lot of pressure on yourself to truly come in and perform. Chad, this is a different league. I mean, coming from where he came from to this league, especially with the talent in the league this year, it's tough. And I think he's realizing it more and more and more as he plays. And obviously the time is dwindling down with the games. But who else is going to shoot it if he doesn't, right? Like if he doesn't shoot the ball, that game, I mean, it's even more ugly, right? Like Igor obviously played extremely well and kept us in the game. But between Chaz, between Z, I mean, they really, really, really struggled. And that struggle, he says it all the time, I'm going to keep shooting. That's the only way you get out of it is you have to shoot. But someone else is going to have to step up. I think Chaz's shot selection could be a little bit better. Obviously, I think he has a green light, but I think he shoots a lot of those threes, and when he's on, he's on. But I think going to the goal earlier in the game, getting a foul call, truly getting to the free throw line, seeing some balls go through early, I think that'll be beneficial to him because, again, we still got a tough stretch. The last 8, 9, 10 games that we have in the SEC, we're going to need him to step up. And I also think, Paige, it's unfair for us to compare him to Dalton Connect. Like Dalton Connect was Dalton Connect. Like he is who he is, and he did what he did. And I think Chaz is still coming into his own, but he has to find it quickly. And I think they have to find it quickly. And I think this opportunity this upcoming weekend is the perfect storm, right? It's a 12 o'clock game, so it's not late. You can kind of get up and get going. And I look for us to play well. It's just these guys got to figure it out. And I think Coach Barnes is truly working on trying to mold them to figure it out and putting it on them to figure it out. But you just got to keep shooting.
It's important to make the right decisions, like when to go for it on 4th down, or when to kick the field goal or go for the touchdown. It's also important to make the right insurance decisions too. That's why my office, Trey McAdams State Farm, is here to help you select the right protection at the right price. Our office will make sure you understand your State Farm coverages so you'll know what to expect when the unexpected happens. With Trey McAdams State Farm, it's easy to make the right call. When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Proud sponsor of the Tennessee Vols.
I know, and you mentioned the shot selection. Okay, so 45 threes against Kentucky. When do you think the last time they've had 45 threes?
Oh, so you told me you weren't going to do trivia, and you're going to do trivia to me. It's been forever, right? I think
It has.
like 45 three-pointers. Like who would have ever thought a Rick Barnes coach team would shoot that many, right? Like he's coached some great guys.
I went back to the 2016 season. I gave up after that because I could not find a season where they hit 45 threes.
45
There were a couple of times where the last 5 seasons where they hit 40, 44, but they have not hit 45 threes at least in the last.
And how many did we make?
11.
Oof, boy.
So one less than Kentucky. And what was interesting is Rick Barnes says that it wasn't Kentucky's three-pointers that killed them. It absolutely was early in the game. 5 of their first 7 attempts were threes, and they made 4 of them.
They were on fire.
Their first 6.
They were on fire.
So it slowed down in the second half, I think maybe because they made adjustments. But you take away just a couple of those threes earlier in the game because you're so prepared or maybe even a little worried that they're going to crash or drive in the paint, that you want to crowd the area. That you just give them open looks. They're going to make them. Kentucky can give you open looks. You're not going to make them. So
which is crazy is like, you think we make those shots, right? Like Kentucky was making open threes. We had open threes, and for whatever reason, they're not going through. And earlier in the game, it 100% affected the game with them shooting threes. It got the crowd out of the game. We couldn't truly get anything going because every time we'd make a basket, they come down and hit a three, and that point differential truly just expands from that point, right?
And then I think when we look at the other part of like what's been kind of ugly is when we look at maybe the other guys who haven't necessarily stepped up. Jordan Gainey's had a couple of good games, but he's kind of touch and go a little bit. And sometimes that can be tough for someone coming off the bench that way. I know a couple weeks ago, Cade Phillips was like he's the best 6th man in the country. Right now, he's 29% from the field, 27 from the three-point line. The only other person on the team right now that's considered a shooter is Igor. His best is 42% from the field. So to not have a starter that's shooting above 40% in SEC play, that's a massive concern.
It's a massive concern. I mean, we're used to scoring. Like we're used to being able to get the ball to someone and get a basket. It has been tough. It's been tough. And like you said, when you don't have somebody that can go get you a basket, when you don't have someone who can make a wide open shot, who can truly create on their own and kick it out, you got to be able to make those threes. And at the end of the day, once you get in the SEC tournament play, once you get to the show, you can get beat very easily, and it's over like that. So these guys, and it's funny, you know, I played football, so played basketball in high school, but the basketball players, like these dudes shoot all day long, and like that's all they do. They when we had Zakai out here, it was funny. He was like, I got to go to the gym and get up 500 shots. And I'm like,
oh my God.
Well, I don't know what that takes. He's like, it'll take an hour. It's like an hour. So it's like.
Probably would take me all week.
Oh God, it'd take a very long time to not shoot, make 500.
Yes.
So it's like, so that's these guys are hoopers, right? Like that's what they do, and it's so crazy how you can see them making shots, or they can say they're doing this, and then get in the game, and they are completely cold, right? And those cold spells, Thompson Bowling Arena, aka Food City Center, like. When the fans are in it and they're going and you're making shots, it's very hard to play. It's hard for teams to get in their sets. It's different stuff. But when you're not and the fans are out of it, and you know our fans, you miss a couple shots in a row, they're on edge, right? So the confidence I think will still be there to shoot the ball. I mean, you never see Chaz or you never see any of these guys like wavering to shoot.
Right.
You just got to get a couple of them to go, and I think you get a couple of them to go by starting earlier in the game, by going to the goal, by trying to truly get a layup, by trying to get a foul, shooting a 16-foot jumper, as opposed to just kind of getting the threes going. But Coach Barnes ain't gonna let up, and we know he's not gonna let up, right? So fans just hang in there, man. It's a tough team. It's a tough season.
What do you think the psychology is for a player? Because obviously they got 45 threes off because Kentucky was letting them by design. They were going to let them get wide open threes. What does that do for you, like psychologically, when you like they're not guarding you because you're not producing at a great level right now?
We talked before we did this about Mashack, right? Like Mashack shoots a good percentage from three because they let him shoot it. Like it's truly like when you watch just like back in the day, like Shaq or whomever. Like if he caught the ball at 3-point line, like everybody's in the lane.
Yeah, it's like when Felix had his 1-3.
There you go,
Yeah.
right? Like they let hey shoot it, man. If you make it, great. We'll live with that.
Yeah.
For a player in my head, I think that has to be just completely like mentally challenging, right? Like, all right, shoot the three. You know you can make the three, but you miss it. And then the next time down, okay, shoot the three. You know you can make the three, but you miss it. And throughout the game, you know Kentucky's just truly letting you shoot in the because they're gonna let us do it. And if Mashack or Felix or one of these guys makes a couple threes, it's okay. I mean, they're not gonna do it consistently. But the mental psyche of that to me, and then you got 21,000 people, shoot the ball, and it's like, okay, I shoot and I miss it. So it's like, it's a give and a take that I think. Again, the way to get out of it is make the shots, but whew, that's a tough.
Yeah, because I can understand how you can, if you're Jahmai, because you've only attempted 8 from the 3-point line, that you can have it as like, oh, this is disrespectful, I'm going to prove you wrong. But when you're a shooter like Chaz and they're not guarding you, I don't know how you can have that same mindset as someone like a Jahmai Mashack whose role on the team is not
a
taking
three-point
threes.
shooter.
Yeah.
Chaz's role is to shoot threes and make threes, right? And it's just weird, like you said. This guy is a shooter. He's a scorer, and they're letting him shoot, and he's missing the shot. So psychologically for him, when the one that I think he made one late in the game in transition, you could see, you could feel like his like emotions of like, oh my gosh, and that's what you need. It came too late. That was the biggest thing with that game is the defensive intensity picked up in the second half, but it was too late. Like everything was too late, and I think that has to be the realization. These guys are older. I mean, Chaz is an older guy. He's played ball for a while. Z's played for a while. Mashack's played for a while. Jordan, like they're older guys. They have to be able to find that sync and be able to find that continuity to make some baskets early. I think another thing, Paige, is getting the ball inside to Felix. Like that's a huge thing, and I think a momentum thing to kind of get him going. Get in there, let him bang a little bit, and kick it out. Now you can kind of reset your feet as opposed to having someone directly in your face to shoot a three and get going. So they'll have a plan, and just hopefully they can make some shots.
I think that's a great segue into maybe the bad part of the good, bad, ugly, because it's something that can be fixed. Because we've seen Felix a number of times attack it from the lob, right? And of course, Kentucky took away that aspect of Tennessee's game, but they've got to find a way to adjust to give Felix or Cade the ball in the paint.
They're doing a good job. Like we talked, Felix has played well. Like I think we've almost gotten a little more than we expected out of him in the sense of offensively, yeah. Like we knew he could block shots. We knew he could play defense. Like we knew he was going to be a rim protector when we got him. But when it came down to truly throwing the ball into him in the post and letting him go to work as a big man, he's shown that he can do that, right? And Igor has done it as well. Like Cade Phillips has done it. Like these guys have come in and played well, and I think that mentality of having a big man that can score helps your shooters, right? Like it helps the Chaz. Like DK last year could just get out of his way and he can go create his own shot. He could dunk it. He could pass it. He could do whatever he wanted to. I think Chaz is much more. He's a scorer, but it's not the same type of scoring. Felix Okporo, I think, has a huge upside. I think getting him the ball, and I think that's going to help him on defense, right? You see a couple baskets going through, your defensive intensity picks up, he runs the court extremely well. Like all of those things I think are important, and I think they have to find a way to incorporate that into the offense, but not neglect Chaz, not neglect Igor, not neglect those three-point shooters. But if you got a big man who's 6'10", 6'11", that can get down there and get you some buckets, and let him get you some buckets, right? Like I think that gets everything else going. It's a mentality of playing down there in the post, and I think Felix, Cade, Igor, I think they accept that mentality of being tough and being able to score down there. And I think Coach Barnes wants that more. And again, I think it's going to open up the shots and be able to have better shot selection for the guys.
I think what maybe is a struggle for this team too is they're becoming a little too predictable on offense, right? Because a couple of weeks ago, Kate's talking about how he's got this jumper that he's working on. He hangs kind of tough in practice when they're going through shooting drills, but you don't ever see him do that. And he says a lot of it's because the system doesn't call for him to be that type of mid-range shooter, but he says he has that skill set. And if Rick Barnes is talking about it's tough to have three-point shots when you're not getting those inside touches, okay, well, how does Tennessee find a way to give Cade those opportunities?
I think when you're in the game and you're in the moment, sometimes stuff doesn't call for stuff. You have to just do it, right? Like you have to, if you're open. Same thing with Mashack. I've noticed him a lot more. They're giving him those threes, and as opposed to him doing that, he's literally going to the goal and trying to create something. I think the same thing with Cade. Man, if you got a 10, 12-foot jumper, shoot it. You have to shoot it with confidence. I think a lot of times, again, you think about it, right? Like, yeah, I've been working on this jumper. Man, I know I can make this jumper this, and this. And then you get in the game, and it's not the normal habit of that you're used to doing. Yeah, you can do it in practice all day long. Yeah. But when you got somebody coming off of a screen or whatever, and you're setting that screen and you catch it, you kind of deer in the headlights because you're just not used to being able to do that. That's a comfort thing that I think you just got to step outside of the box and do it. And I think encouragement from others like Z, like Chaz, like telling him, hey, man, you got to shoot the ball. We have to come up with something differently than the way we've been doing it to score points. And I think a lot of it is just the psychological part of the scores aren't scoring. If Chaz ain't hitting or Z's not hitting, then I can't shoot the ball. Like, I can't be, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't be the one to shoot it and then I miss, and now they're missing out. So I think all that's important. Jordan Gainey's another one. Like, Jordan Gainey.
I want to see him get back to his, mid-range.
Jordan Gainey, to me, yes, Paige, like 16, 17, 18-foot pull-up jumpers. Like off the dribble, pull-up jumpers. Like, that's his game. Like, he can come off a screen. He can make a three. He can actually create his own shot. I do believe that. But it's almost like they're deferring everything to Chaz. Everything to Chaz.
Again, let's go to the top. 116 attempts just in 8 games.
And no one else is close.
No.
Right? So everything is literally going to Chaz. And it's like, Jordan Gainey, we need you to step up, bro. Like, you have to average 10, 11, 12 points a game. Mm-hmm. That's important for us, right? Like, Zakai Zeigler. Everybody loves Z. I love Z. Z's got to figure out a way to make some shots. And I know he's beating himself up.
Well, especially after that Kentucky game, I think it got in his head early, likely, because 2 of his layups were blocked. And that doesn't typically happen.
Never happens with him. We can't have him with bad psyche, right? Like, no. We can't have him when he hurt his knee, it was like you could feel the arena, like, right? Yeah. So we can't have our best guy, Z, have any emotional to what he's doing. And I think, again, that's basketball. You go through these slumps, and he's been through it, but how do you get out of that? What do you do to get out of that? What's the way to do that? Zakai, layups, like you say, that don't happen. Like, he doesn't get his layup blocked or anything like that. But the psychological part of missing those shots, the knee, all of that stuff, it affects your in-game play. It affects the way you're calling the plays. And he's the leader. Like, Coach Barnes is putting it all on him, right? So the psychological part for him kind of echoed and it went to everybody else. And it was just kind of everything that could possibly go wrong in that first half went wrong, and then you see the intensity kind of flip when it was just too late. Yeah.
When we look to what's good, because there are still good things that are going on in this team. We mentioned it a little earlier, too, with Igor Milicic. His offense really got ignited against Kentucky. I don't think there's been really a game this season or at least an SEC play, that he's led the team in scoring, but he was great from the three-point line. His career high is 5. He had 4 here for Tennessee. I think he's had 5 games where he's had 2 consistently, so it was nice to see him get over that hump of just making 2. But it's interesting, in most of the games where he's had high scoring or double-digit scoring, he hasn't necessarily won those games. So
that's Igor. I think we've heard him talk, and we've heard him kind of talk about his evolution since he's been here and kind of what he's trying to do. He's another one. He's played well. The guy can score, right? Like we got him here to score the ball, and he's a bigger dude. He's been one of our most consistent players, I think,
especially on the boards.
Especially, and like, it's a mentality to him.
Yes.
You can see him make up his mind that he's going to get in the rebound. And again, that's contagious. Mm-hmm. That is contagious.
Because what's nice is, like, it doesn't matter where it is. It could be like when you're in your spot, out of area. Like, Igor's got his hand on it somewhere.
Yeah. And that's contagious. And I think that part, to me, like, that effort and like being able to do that, the scoring part comes with that as well. Like, again, my little high school basketball that I play, like, rebounding, it's important, and it's a mentality, and especially when you're not he's a big dude, but he's not big.
Felix. He's not Jahmai.
Yeah, he's not like that. Like, so this dude, like, makes up his mind that I'm going to get in the rebound, and I'm going to go get it. And I don't care what happens. This is what it's going to be. So that's been super positive. I think Cade Phillips has been great coming off the bench. His energy is phenomenal. He can truly play and like there's no drop, right? Like there's no drop. We know he can get a couple buckets. We know he's going to play really good. We know he's going to probably try to catch a lob. We know that stuff's going to happen. It's just, how do we do it consistently? How do we every single game make sure that the people coming off the bench, the Jordan Gainies, like, come on, like we have to figure that out, or it's going to be a long season.
Yeah, because for Igor, he's 12 of 59 in SEC play from the field. That's 42%, which is just behind Jahmai, who actually has 37 attempts from the field. And he's been pretty good. See, I really like his attitude. I know we talked about psyche a lot, and maybe that's like the biggest takeaway from what we've seen these last couple of games. A close loss on the road to Auburn, battling against Vanderbilt, and then here you have another huge test against Florida, whose best win came against you all on the road. So do you think, with Jahmai Mashack having this mentality where it was funny, he was talking post-game, I think it might have been after Georgia, I can't remember, where he's just like, I am a hooper. When I was in high school, I was really good on offense. I would go to the parks all the time. Like, I'm not just a defensive guy. So for him to maybe unlock a new level of his offensive game, because I saw the stat where Tennessee only averages 3 corner threes a game. I think it was against Mississippi State where he had 2. Igor had the third one. Do you think his wrinkle of offense could end up being the biggest difference maker for this team?
It's crazy, Paige. Like, you don't get a scholarship to come and play basketball at Tennessee if you can't hoop.
Yeah.
Period. Like period.
Point blank,
you don't get a scholarship to come play at the University of Tennessee basketball if you can't hoop. So Mashack was a hooper. I remember when he was getting recruited to come here, like, the dude can play some ball, and like he can score the ball. And he used to be a slasher. He shot jumpers, and obviously the game's much different when you're the dude in high school coming to the SEC. But you don't just, like, they didn't just go, oh, hey, Jahmai, come on over here from California, bro. We're gonna
and just guard the ball.
We're gonna give you a scholarship to Tennessee, and we're gonna give you some NIL money. But all I want you to do is just guard the ball. If you have a wide open shot, don't shoot it. Yeah. Don't go to the goal. Don't do anything like
guard and pass. That's all we need you to do.
Stop.
Yeah.
So that confidence to him, and the dude can jump. Mm-hmm. He's built like a freak. I mean, his body is like a Dragon Ball Z character. Like legitimate. It's like chiseled. Like,
it was so funny. Okay, so side story. So when Tennessee, before the season starts, they always do like their post-workout flexing picture. So many of the comments are talking about how he looks like a racehorse. And he does. It's insane.
I always tell people, it's like, when you see dudes like that, I tell them they're like a Dragon Ball Z character, just like you can see every muscle in the arm, their fingers have muscles.
Yes. You know like how are those vascular and you're flexing them? Yeah.
Do you do curls with your fingers or something like that? So, but
fingertip push-ups.
Yeah, like something. But the dude's a hooper, man, and he has to find that. He has to find his way. Again, we are relying way too much on Chaz Lanier. So it's like, Mashack, yes, you are a hooper. Do it. Yeah. Kay Phillips, yes, you are a hooper. Do it. Igor.
Because I think the same thing is like in football, right? Like, if you're only running the ball, you're not going to be able to run it the whole time. Even if you're not going to make the pass down the field, you still have to do that to make the defenses respect you. It's just such a lopsided offense for Tennessee that they don't need to respect the paint touches because they don't get any. They don't need to respect any mid-range shots because they don't do it. I think the biggest adjustments this team has to make is just to spread the offense. I'd rather this team lose a game because they're trying to drive it to the rim versus just taking wide open threes that they have no shot of making.
That's it. I mean, it's very, very, very simple. Take the ball to the goal. The mid-range game has to be there. Like what happened to it? Like what has happened to?
Where's the Illinois team that we saw against Illinois?
Yeah. What's happened to the mid-range game?
Because at least then they had clutch.
There you go.
Where's the clutch now?
It's been non-existent, right? So, and again, it's because we're just being reliant upon that three, and if it's going, it's great. But if it's not falling, which it has not been falling, it's tough. It's tough to watch. I mean, it's tough to be in. But these guys, they just got to quit leaning on Chaz so much. I mean, or Chaz, make some shots, buddy.
Well, it's funny sometimes. I think too, and maybe we can lump it into the bad part. But how tough is eye discipline really? Because we'll be at practice and I'll hear Barnes say, I won't name the player, but they'll say, I only want paint touches on this set. And then they pull up for 3. And of course, Rick Barnes has his yelling match that happens. He's like, I literally just told you I only want a paint touch. Why are we pulling up from 3? And it's because they think they have an open look, but that's not what Rick Barnes wants. So then you see that it doesn't translate to the game. I'm sure a lot of that happens in football too. So much time they're like, keep on your keys, eye discipline. How tough is that really when you think you have a shot, but you know you shouldn't take it, or you should make a cut, but you really shouldn't make that cut?
I think that's why we're struggling almost, right? Like Coach Barnes wants and knows the offense and how it's supposed to be run. He's done it for a very long time. When you're in that psyche of overthinking, that's it's almost like when you get hurt, right?
Yeah.
Like in football, that was the old saying was like, the moment you don't play as hard as you can, the moment you kind of let up or do something, the moment you're standing around a pile, that's when you get hurt. Like those are the moments that happen, right? So it's almost kind of translating to basketball. It's like those moments you have to be able to snap out of it and do it. You can't, if we're running a set to get the ball inside the Felix and you have a wide open three, don't shoot the we're running a set, pass it, like rotate the ball around. Let's get Felix to the other side. Let's do what we have to do. The other night after the Auburn game, which, oh God, that was just a bummer. But just texting, like obviously the referees, whatever.
Yeah.
It reminded me of like Zach Edey in Purdue with Broom of like, how's this, like, why is this dude getting all these calls? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, dude's a good player. Let's not get it twisted, but he was getting a lot of favorable calls. But texting with Z, it's like his psyche is just so awesome, man, because he was so frustrated with how the game went, but he was like, we play Kentucky. I can't even think about
I gotta
this.
move on.
Like literally,
Yeah.
I have to move on, right? And like that is truly the mentality that you have to have. Like if we go into Saturday thinking about Kentucky, Florida will run us out of the gym.
It'll look like last
It'll
time.
literally look like last time. They will run us out of the gym because they're that good and their coach is good and they have really good players and AB's like so you have to be able to flush it. I think that's a very challenging thing when you're playing sports, especially when you're as competitive as these dudes are. Like, but don't show up Saturday. We know what Florida can do. They literally ran us out of their gym down there.
Yeah, no,
But they beat
literally.
us by
And we don't
25,
need that to
30,
happen
yeah.
at TBA
Yeah,
at all. So
no.
I guess when we do look to Saturday, of our good, bad, ugly, what is maybe the most important thing that they need to focus on or replicate against the Gators, you think?
Well, I think intensity and energy to start the game. I think that has to be huge, right? It's an early game, so people will be there. You don't have to truly like wait all day long to go and play, and it's not on the road. So I think the energy intensity will be like up there. I think what's Florida ranked? They've only lost 2 losses or something like that. I think they're 3rd or 4th ranked like that right now. So obviously it's a top 5 matchup. We know what it's going to be. Get the ball inside early. I think that is huge. I think it's going to be one of those things that I think Coach Barnes is going to truly try to implement is, guys, we got to drive the ball to the goal. We got to get some shots in the paint. Chaz, like take the ball to the goal, pull up and shoot a jumper. Jordan Gainey, so like all of those different things, they have to happen, Paige, or we're going to be talking next week on, boy, the good, the bad, and the ugly got uglier.
We're not changing the bad.
Ugliest.
We certainly do not want that at all, please.
No, we don't want that to be the name. Like we want good,
Then
better,
it really
best.
will be like the battered ball syndrome or whatever they call it. So don't want that at all.
We don't want that.
But as Chris says, we'll be back next week. Definitely leave a comment or a question. If it's on topic, we'll answer it next week. But make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any of it. We'll be back next Friday for more good, bad, and ugly with Paige Dauer and Chris Brown. Talk to you then.